Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone, for coming for this Ubuntu Pedagogy Masterclass. Yeah, we're very honored to have you this evening in our time, but afternoon, in our different countries where we are. Yeah, this is the second year we are having our Ubuntu Masterclass. The first one we had in 2024, and this was organized by the Resilient Project team, led by Associate Professor Genestic Tuichirize. And we hope to have this masterclass annually. And our purpose really is for us to share expertise, to share experiences, and to also share resources that we have on Ubuntu. But also importantly, this masterclass is focused on authoring Ubuntu, where we will talk about, our own experiences, as authors. The facilitators will talk about their own authoring experiences, but then also the audience, we know, whoever is participating here has, some experience in authoring Ubuntu, but also authoring books in general. And the intention, as Africans, we learn from our lived experiences. This is knowledge. The experiences we go through is also knowledge that we can share and learn from and encourage each other. So we are here to motivate each other, to inspire each other, to encourage each other, and learn from each other's experiences and stories, with the overall objective of really increasing authorship, increasing on, African literature. So we hope by the end of the masterclass, at least you would have, learned or heard other people's experiences, and you also have an opportunity to share your experiences, and also we'll look at the strategies that we can use to increase, publications and books on African literature. So, as Lugare has, already shared with you, we authored a book on Ubuntu philosophy and decolonizing fields of social work, together with, Lugare and also Genestic Tuichirize, and that was in 2024. Myself, I've also, authored a book on decolonizing and reimagining social work in Africa. I also touch on Ubuntu philosophy, but also look at other methodologies, and drawing on African knowledges, drawing on orature, drawing on African ways of knowing, and also ways of helping, in this book. So I'm sharing that in my own book. So I think we agree, and we can confidently say that the major problem that has remained persistent is really lack of, literature, African literature, or literature on African social work, literature on, African philosophies, African worldviews, and how these, can inform social work, but also other disciplines. So if you have studied from Africa, like I have done, if you've studied social work from Africa, you have probably experienced scenarios where most of the literature that we have, that most of the books that we are learning from or drawing from are actually books that are authored, outside Africa by, other authors, Western authors, mostly. So, and in social work, you remember maybe books like, Compton, Lynn Healy. If you have read, is international social work, you're reading Lynn Healy, but introduction to social work, usually we use texts like, written by Compton and Galloway. And, we can read, some of these books, and we relate to social work in our own context. But we know very well some of these books have very limited examples or case studies, limited theories, models of doing social work that really relate to our African context. So this issue really has, persisted. We are drawing on literature that is, written from outside Africa, literature that has very little reference and also relevance to African context, African issues, that we address as social workers. And, when we draw on this literature, what is happening is that we are spending a lot of time trying to adapt, trying to interpret these texts that are written without Africa in mind. And we are wasting time. And what happens for the students is that they will just cram and regurgitate what they have read because they simply, don't understand or can't relate with what they have been reading or, the literature that we have exposed to them. And this really kills creativity. We have young people we are training. We need to use literature or use, philosophies that they will be able to understand. And this could probably trigger creativity, innovation, and also encourage that, scholarship culture. When we see all the texts that we are referring to, all the books or the literature is coming outside Africa, then we don't really nurture that scholarship culture. So I think we are having this masterclass, these platforms for us to, create space where we can talk about authoring African philosophies, where we can talk about networking and creating opportunities for mentoring and also support those who are upcoming, especially in, writing and increasing on the academic African centered literature. Yeah, so from my experiences, I just wanted to share with you, some considerations, especially if you're thinking about publishing, if you're thinking about writing a book or authoring or about Ubuntu or any other African philosophies. From what I've read and from, my own experiences, when you look for literature on Africa, the dominant narrative that is there is about Africa's problems. So if you look such literature, you will see poverty coming up, diseases in Africa, HIV, you'll see more Africa at war, so wars in Africa and conflict. So mostly a problem-oriented perspective or worldview about Africa is what is predominant in the literature. And if I reference Chimamanda Adichie, she talks about the dangers of a single story. So what I'm saying, there is mostly literature that tells a single story about Africa and its problems. But think about it. Africans have been able to survive for all these years, despite the problems that have been, written about it. So what is really helping Africans to survive? What kind of knowledge, what kind of models or ways of doing and helping are helping Africans to survive? And this is surviving in a context where there's, for example, very limited intervention from the government or social welfare, which is, very common in Western nations where the government actually chips in to help those people who are vulnerable. But most of our African contexts, the government, is really limited in the way it's helping. So what I'm saying is that there's a lot that can be written, by Africans about Africa from a non-deficit perspective of Africa. So things like, models or ways of helping that are, responsible for the survival and also the survival and thrival of Africans would really constitute, very good topics. African social work, models of helping, African indigenous knowledges that are really helping most of the communities to survive would be very good topics that we could actually try to leverage and focus on instead of repeating what is already there, which is the problem or the deficit view about Africa. Yeah, so if you're considering also authoring, it's very important to think about, collaborations and also networking, especially collaborations with some authors who have, experience in authoring books or authoring Ubuntu. And, the collaborations or networking could be really with supervisors, with scholars who already written there. There are some very passionate PhD supervisors who are still willing to read a proposal, provide you feedback on your book chapters, on your summaries. So this is the networking that I am talking about. The collaborative work could be between Africans in Africa and also in diaspora, and also between Africans and non-Africans. And through these collaborations, you're able to get feedback on whatever you're writing and also get some form of mentoring support. And also, I'm aware of time. If I would want to, also challenge you to think about collaborations and networking, but also challenge you to think about pricing challenges, especially in the African context, if you think about writing books. So we have a problem where we have, books that we've written but are very expensive and therefore not affordable by, the target audience that we are looking at. This is a reality. It's a big challenge. So as you come after us, if you're thinking of authoring, think about ways you can have books that are more affordable and more accessible. So ebooks are really becoming a bit more cheap. And also, if you can think of open access publishing, I think that would be very good. You would be able to reach audience with your work. But then also thinking about, at least in Africa, people are able to get grant proposals. So if you win a grant, at least include publishing a book. Which means including a budget that you can use to waive off, publishing fees, so that your book or your work is more accessible. I think Genestic would be able to throw a little bit of some more light on some of the work that she has published using, grant funding. And this has really helped us in reading a little bit more about African, social work from an African academic. So think about ways you can have literature out there, but which is more accessible and more affordable. Yeah, I think lastly, what I want to talk about is that our low-hanging fruit in Africa is our PhD students and students who are doing high degree research. We need to encourage them, in publishing and also in using African ways of knowing and doing African methodologies in the thesis or the dissertation, so that we can increase more work, on African philosophies, including Ubuntu. It's very sad to hear that some students are being discouraged from doing topics on Africa or on African philosophies, because people are saying you won't be marketable. But I must say the world is actually hungry for alternative views, alternative and common perspectives. So please feel encouraged to actually encourage your own students, to use African philosophies and write about African, Ubuntu and methodologies, so that we can have more alternative and common perspectives. Yeah, so lastly, I think I want to encourage us to challenge and demystify that belief that books or theories or models only come from the West. There is that thinking that is still there. We need to challenge that. And then also encouraging us to also intentionally increase on the visibility of literature written by African authors. So when you're publishing your journal articles, your books, think about how many African authors and African voices you're actually citing in your work. It's very important when the work is out there that we can cite it. Please also ensure that the libraries stock the books that have been written in an African-centered perspective. I'll stop there. Thank you very much, and hopefully you enjoy the masterclass. Thank you so much.